I've been playing Apex for a pretty long time, and in that time I've learned various different lurches, some very easy, and some not so easy. And today I'm going to show you everything I've learned starting with basic tap strafing, all the way up to Yuki spams and RAF strafing. So before we can actually learn lurching, you have to make sure you have the proper keybinds. This is really all you're going to need to see. W as either one of your scroll wheel inputs. I use it reversed from what most people use. Most people have it as scroll up, but that's just not what I did when I began learning. And jump, you have to have as your other scroll input. And make sure that your crouch is on hold, otherwise you're going to have to let go of crouch after each jump. The very first step to learning good movement in Apex Legends, such as lurching, is tap strafing. Now, if you're not familiar with what tap strafing is, it's basically a redirect of your movement using your scroll W, which, as a reminder, I have it as scroll down. And basically what you do is you initiate it in the air, and it will change your direction mid-air, such as this. For some reason, part of the keyboard overlay got bugged with the scroll wheel when I was scrolling down, so only really focus on the scrolling down because I didn't actually scroll up at all. So first what you're going to do is you're going to hold W to go forward, slide, jump, then let go of W and press either A or D. In this clip I am pressing A, and scroll your tap strafe while turning in a certain direction. Notice how in this clip I am holding shift the entire time after I jump. This is very essential for lurching. Now that you hopefully understand how to tap strafe, we are going to learn the first basic lurch, which you just start off by going to the side, and then jumping and scrolling your tap strafe to come in a hook motion back to the right. So you start by going left, hook right, right, hook left. So you're going to start by holding A, then jumping, then having A, W, and space, to AWD plus space, to WD plus space, to just D and space, and when you only have D, you're going to scroll your tap strafe, and then after you scroll your tap strafe, you're going to tap S. Lurching from right to left is essentially the same thing. You just mirror your inputs and scroll on A instead of on D. Backwards lurching is pretty similar to a forwards lurch. However, you're going to, instead of using W, you're going to use S. So you're going to go A to A plus jump, to AS plus jump, to ASD, to SD plus scroll, to D plus scroll, meaning you're letting go of S, and then you're touching the ground, and that's your lurch. And yet again, your inputs are mirrored, so you're instead going DSA and scrolling on A. So now that you've learned the basic lurches, it's time for you to implement it into your movement. So, how you're going to do this is you're going to hold your shift, otherwise known as your crouch, and you're going to go forward and scroll your jump every single time right before you're about to hit the ground. Make sure you're holding your crouch always. Notice how right after I jump, I hold my shift, which is my crouch, and I scroll jump up every single time just before I hit the ground to make sure that I instantly jump off the ground. The next step is combining your lurches with bunny hopping. So it's going to look something like this. First, you're going to start with your normal forwards right lurch, which if you've forgotten, you can go back to chapter 2 to see it. And then, right before you hit the ground, you're going to scroll your jump just before you hit the ground each time. And notice how I'm holding the final two keys in the lurch, whether that be AWDS, the DS, or DWAS, the AS. The same ideas apply to backwards lurching and bunny hops as well. So first, you're going to do your backwards lurch. If you've forgotten how to do that, you can skip back to chapter 3. And then for each time you're about to hit the ground, you're going to scroll your jump every single time. Some of you may have noticed when I'm going left, I hold SA. However, when I'm going right, I only hold D. I want to assure you that this actually does not matter at all what you do. You can hold SA or just A, or SD or just D. Now we're going to speed things up a bit. So what you're going to do is find yourself a nice platform, preferably something that looks a lot like this, and you're going to just use those forward lurches that you've learned, and you're going to implement them into just a snake strafe in a forward chain, and it looks something like this.
Faster, faster, faster!
So first, you're going to do your normal forwards lurch, and then go to A, to AW, to AWD, to DS, letting go of A and W, back to D. So now going back to the left, you're going to use that same D, and you're going to go D, to DW, to DWA, to AS plus tab strafe, to A plus scroll up, which is jump. And then you just continue that sequence over and over again, and you'll get this chain. Yet again, a similar idea for backwards snake strafing. You're just going to use your backwards lurches in a sequence, left to right to left to right.
It's go time!
You're going to go A to AS to ASD to SD plus your tab strafe to just D plus tab strafe, letting go of S. The keyboard overlay is a bit bugged here, showing me scrolling in both directions. However, I'm not. Only focus on the scroll direction with the numbers. For instance, this one is up plus D, to DS plus up, to DSA plus jump, to SA plus your tab strafe, to just A plus jump, to AS plus jump, to ASD with no tab strafe scroll, to SD plus tab strafe scroll, to just D plus jump. Then you repeat the sequence over and over again. Notice how each time after I let go of A, I re-input it as ASD. Same vice versa with D, re-inputted as DSA. Let me show you one more time, slowed down just to visualize it. So this part is usually everybody's favorite part, since this is the most popular movement tech mostly for lurches. And it goes a little bit like this.
Rapido, rapido!
And here's what it looks like going the other way. So first you're going to do your normal forwards lurch to the left, and then you're going to go A plus jump to AW, to AWD, to D plus your tab strafe scroll, to DS plus tab strafe, to D plus jump, to DS, to DSA, to just SA plus scroll, to A plus scroll, letting go of S, to just A plus jump, AW, AWD, D plus scroll tab strafe, to DS plus scroll tab strafe, and then you just repeat the cycle over and over again. Notice how each time after I input D, after the forwards right hook, I re-input DSA for the backwards lurch. Yet again, same idea going the other way. You're going to do a left hook, go to A plus scroll jump, AS, ASD, SD plus tap strafe scroll, D plus tap strafe scroll, letting go of S, D plus jump, DW plus jump, DWA, A plus tap strafe scroll, AS plus tap strafe scroll, AS plus scroll up, to ASD plus scroll up, and you just repeat the cycle over and over again. Notice how each time after I input A, I re-input it as ASD. This next part is quite difficult, so bear with me here. For double lurches, you're going to need to learn how to do a double scroll. A double scroll is where you do double the amount of scroll inputs that you would normally do, but in one bunny hop, and it'll look something like this.
Faster, faster, faster!
Make sure you pay very close attention to my scrolls and their timing. Now that you hopefully get the gist of double scrolling, here is the first very basic double scroll lurch.
Faster, faster, faster!
Here's how it looks slowed down. First, you're going to press A and scroll up. Then you're going to scroll your tap strafe on A. Then you're going to go to AW, to WD plus your jump, which is essentially useless, to DS plus your second tap strafe, and that is your lurch. The reason that second scroll jump is useless is because you're already in the air. This next part is probably the hardest part of the entire tutorial. So basically what a Yuki spam is a forwards lurch and a backwards lurch in one bunny hop, and it looks like this when without a stim or crouching. Notice how the first scroll is on the A in the DWAS, and the second scroll is on the D in the ASD. Similar idea the other way, with the first scroll being on the D in the AWDS, and the second scroll being on the A in the DSA. Now it's time to put these two things to the test.
It's go time!
This lurch may come off as very difficult, and I want to assure you that it's not as hard as it seems. I like to start with a backwards lurch into A plus scroll jump, to AW plus scroll jump, to D plus first tap strafe scroll, to inputting S, to DSA plus your scroll jump, to just A plus your second tap strafe scroll, to AW plus jump, making the full circle. You repeat this process over and over again, scrolling on D in AWDS and A in DSA. When doing a Yuki the other way, I like to do a backwards right lurch into D plus scroll jump, to DW, to DWA, to AS plus your first tap strafe scroll, to SD plus your second scroll jump, which again is useless, only care about SD, to D plus your second tap strafe scroll, to DW plus your jump. And then you just complete the circle over and over again, and there you have it. Big shout out to my homie Chronic for letting me use these two clips, the forward RAF and the backwards RAF. He's super underrated. You guys should go check him out, go follow him, subscribe or whatever. But without further ado, let's get into these clips.
What's goody, ladies and gentlemen? I am Cryonic's friend Chronic. We do have similar names, and I'm going to be covering him for forwards and backwards RAF strafes. Let's get into it. D scroll down, A scroll up, A scroll down, D scroll up, and repeat. Now, backwards RAF strafes. These ones will be a little bit different than the forwards RAF strafes, but they'll have a similar concept when it comes to your scrolls with your WASD inputs. Now, for backwards RAFs, is very, very similar to forwards RAFs because all you're doing is doing the same exact inputs but holding S the entire time.
I just want to give a huge thank you to everybody who's been watching the video this far, and if this guide has helped you, then consider subscribing. Doesn't hurt. I love it. And I'll be leaving timestamps for everything in the description, along with my buddy Chronic's channel, and make sure you join the Discord if you need any more help. See you guys in the next one.